61 of the Knit Run Dig podcast. My name is Sam and you can find me on Ravelry as Stealth Dragon and on Instagram and Twitter as Knit Run Dig. I hope you all had a lovely, peaceful and joyous Christmas or other celebrations if you were celebrating over the past week. I had a very quiet Christmas, which suits me. And there's going to be a little bit of a Christmas thing in the history bit, so more about that when I get to that section. I've done quite a bit of crocheting and some knitting. Not much spinning, but I've got more done than I thought I would. It is Wednesday the 28th of December, so I'm a day late. But that's fine, I'll record again on Tuesday next week to keep up. So as usual, I'll start by talking about the knit-alongs and then I'll talk about what I've been working on. Shiny new things. Sorry, there's an aeroplane going past, I don't know if you're going to hear that. So shiny new things, and then there's the history bit, my joyful thing, and a bit of shop news. So let's get started, shall we? Firstly, yet again, I'd like to say thank you very much for the hashtag joyful thing. It's very enjoyable for me to post. I haven't been posting that much, but for me to collect joyful things for myself and to see what makes other people happy and joyful. So thank you for that. And thank you for watching. Thank you to all returning viewers, and hello and welcome to any new viewers. So as I said, let's start talking about the knit-alongs. So the year-long shawl-along finishes on the 31st of March, so you've got plenty of time to post your finished objects in there. You don't have to have started them within the past 12 months, so from the 1st of April. You can have started them at all, it's just as long as you finish them between the 1st of April 2016 and the 31st of March 2017, please post them in the finished objects thread. And if you saw last week's episode, you'll see that I drew a winner of a bag from that, and then every so often I will draw other winners, and then there'll be a few prizes on the 31st of March, well, the draw that's closest to the 31st of March. I'll announce those closer to the time. So that's my knit-along, and then the other knit-along that I'm sort of participating in is the hashtag Blacker Podcal. I've mentioned this at the beginning of the other podcasts, and I'd just like to say I'm going to be doing a prize draw. So this time, well, I'll do it for 2 weeks time, so that will be on about the 8th or 9th of January. I will draw a winner. What I'd like you to do is, if you go to the Blacker Yarns website, I'll put a link in the show notes, it's blackeryarns.co.uk, and I'm offering as a prize that I'm providing myself, you can have, it's one skein of either St Kilda lace weight, Lustre 4-ply or Cornish tin 2. So what I'd like you to do is, if you could tell me what colour would be your favourite and what project you'd like to knit with it, and I'll draw your name in 2 weeks time. So that's for the the Blacker Yarns Podcal as this Team Knit Run Dig, and I'll also be offering a prize for everyone from Team, or for everyone who's entered as Team Knit Run Dig at the end of the knit-along as well. And you don't have to be attending Edinburgh Yarn Festival, you just have to knit anything you like out of Blacker Yarns. It starts on the 19th of January and finishes on the 4th of March, and so I'll be drawing for prizes after the 4th of March. And that's all of the sort of knit-along business. I'm going to start now with finished objects. I didn't finish anything last week, but I've got one from the past which I knitted. I think I looked at my show notes and I believe it was September, and it only took me a day. It was a really fast knit. Fastosh by Susan Ashcroft, Stitch Nerd. Let's hold it up a bit closer so you can see the stitch pattern. As I said, it was very fast. This is an Aran-ish weight of Shetland 3-ply, hand spun by me. in the colourway Imperial Explosion by Hilltop Cloud. I use 4.5mm needles, and that's how it looks. It's nice and warm. I really like Shetland. I love spinning it and I love knitting with it, so it was a great fun project. And a pattern, very simple pattern. There are purl stitches in it, even though it's knit in the round, but not very many, so if you don't like purling then still give this a go, especially with a heavier weight yarn, because it will go faster. So that's the Fastoche, Fastoche by Susan Ashcroft. So that's the finished object for this week. I've messed up my hair, but so what. And now on to what I've been working on this week. There is a little bit of progress on everything, and then a lot of progress on something, on one thing. So the first thing is I have actually started the heel on the plain socks that I've been knitting. So this is, I've decided to just go for a plain slip stitch pattern. This has been my travel knitting, though, so I haven't actually been doing that much this week, so that's why I haven't got that much progress. It's on 2.5mm needles, which is US size 1, and it's a plain sock with quite a long couple of inch cuff, maybe a bit less, 1 3/4 inch cuff, plain stocking stitch, and a gusset, heel flap and gusset. It's going to be for my mum, which is why I'm doing the heel flap and gusset on a self-striping sock. And the yarn is from the Knitting Goddess, and it's hand dyed. It's British 4-ply and nylon, 4-ply British wool and nylon, and it's 45% Blueface Leicester, 30% mixed British wool, and it's sourced from UK Flocks and spun in the UK. And this colourway is Distressed Pudding, which is from the Back to Discworld Self-Striping Yarn Club. That's the first one, my socks. That's 72 stitches on a 2.25mm needle for those of you who'd like to know. The next thing is the cardigan. Now, as I've mentioned before, I'm planning to knit a cardigan, a short sleeve one, for the Blacker Yarns Cal, so I'd best make a move on with this really, because I may well be using the same size needles. The joy of interchangeables. So this I have knitted. It's not very exciting to show you, it's just more stocking stitch, but I've knitted a few rows. That last time I was here last time at the end of the waist shaping, so still a way to go until I start the armhole shaping. And it's just the back. It's knit in pieces on 4mm US size 6 needles, and I did want to show you this beautiful progress marker, and I've got some more stitch markers to show you. You can see it's a black sheep. That's from Anne Tudor Designs, so it's annetudor.com. Beautiful hand blown stitch markers, and these were gifted to me by Anne, so thank you very much indeed. I've got the rest of the set to show you in another project which is coming up next. And the yarn is Fibre Spates Vivacious 4-ply in the colourway Sea Green. It's a nice round yarn. I had knitted the back of another cardigan with it before I decided that I wasn't going to continue. Nothing to do with the yarn, and it stood up to being ripped out very well. It's not pilled, and it's a lovely round yarn, so I'm sure it will be fantastic for cables. In fact, I might have to get some to try at some point, but I have so many other things I want to make that I'm trying to keep sort of that to a minimum, but we shall see. I always say that and it never holds. So that's the it's the Mine Hill cardigan. So it's a plain cardigan with Roman rib edging, open cardigan by Amy Herzog from the I used the custom fit pattern for that. So that's Amy Herzog, Mine Hill. Sorry, the cats are running around, so there may be strange noises coming up. And so the other sheepy stitch markers from Anne Tudor I will show you on this hat, which is the Heart With hat by Rachel Coopy. I've done one whole pattern repeat on it since I last showed you, and of course I've said I've got these stitch markers on this hat, and they're not on this hat. I think they're on the short. I don't know what they're on. Something else. Nope, can't remember. So, but there's a Geeky Puffin progress marker as well, perfect for me, and I bought that. They were offered as a kit as part of the Geeky Puffin Knit Palooza, so I bought myself a set because clearly I couldn't resist. And so I've knitted, you won't really, my cable pattern is starting to show, but this alpaca, so it's a bit fuzzy. It's on the 2.75mm needles, and I have to take this a bit slowly because I think that these tips are a bit too short for me, for my hands, because it's hurting my thumb, but I don't know if that's something else that's causing it or this hat, so we'll have to see, or the needle. But I can do it in magic loop or on DPNs if necessary. So that's the Heart With hat by Rachel Coopy. Let's hold it up a bit closer so you can see the patterning starting. On 2.75 US size 2.5 needles, and the yarn I'm using is Drops Alpaca 4-ply, and I am using a cable needle to do the cabling, even though it's only small twists, because I found it far too difficult to stop the stitches from running when I tried to do it without a cable needle. So whilst that's my preferred method, I'm perfectly happy using the needle as well. So it's Drops Alpaca, and the colourway is 2919, and that's the Heart With hat by Rachel Coopy from Toasty Volume 2. And then I think I remembered what I've done with those stitch markers. I put them aside for another project. So the next thing I'm going to show you, I've done one repeat on this, which is the Round Round Get Around shawl, lovely and bright, by CC Ullman of Java Pearl Designs. And the yarns, it's a DK weight shawl, 4.5mm needles when I get them back. I've cast on something else this week, but I haven't made any progress with it because I've had issues with the yarn, so you might well see that next week depending on if I finish anything. We shall see. And so the yarn I'm using, this is Madeline Tosh DK in Maple Leaf, and Travel Knitter Merino DK in London Skies. Just what you need, a lovely bit of bright high contrast at this time of year. And that's Round Round Get Around by CC Ullman on 4.5, excuse me, US size 7 needles. So that's all of the knitting works in progress and finished objects. I'll show you my crochet blanket that I also showed you last week. I've finished the actual blanket itself. Oh, sorry about that noise, things falling on the floor. And it's a corner to corner blanket, very simple. You're not going to be able to see the whole thing, but I'll just show you. It's about 1 metre by 1 metre and a bit more. It's a bit wonky at the edges, but I am a beginner crocheter, so I don't mind. Very fun and easy to do. And it's a pattern by Ashley Cramp from Crochet Now issue 4, and the yarn I'm using is Wendy Fusion Chunky, which is a discontinued yarn, though I'm sure you'll find some on stashes on Ravelry. Or the pattern itself is written for Aran Wet yarn, so I just went up a couple of needle sizes, so hook sizes. I'm using a 5.5mm USI stroke 9 needle, and I really enjoyed it. As I said, you know, it's only taken me a week and a bit to get this far, and I'm just doing the edging. It's only got edging on 2 sides, and I'm hoping that will be finished next week. It's a gift for my mum, so I'll be nice to get that done before it's too hot to use a blanket. And Magnus absolutely adores this blanket. When I'm working on it, he comes and sits on it and snuggles up on it, or he needs on it, you know, he makes himself a little nest in it. So I'm going to make him one, which of course he won't want, but I've got some other yarn that I can, some Aran yarn, sort of long colour repeat Aran yarn that I'll use for that. Not sure when I'll start though. So that's the crochet works in progress. Now onto this. I've done about 2/3 now of a 4 ounce 113 gram braid of finish top from Porpoise Fur in the colourway Alpha Beta Gamma, which it was a club colourway and I love it. I'm hoping to get at least that finished this week. I'm planning to go to a spinning day on Monday, so I should hopefully at least finish this braid and start on the BFL silk that I'm going to ply it with. So hopefully I have more progress to show you next week. So that's the spinning, and now onto the shiny new things, or in fact thing, which is more Fibre Space Vivacious 4-ply. Vivacious DK, sorry, in the colourway Verdigris. I love this colour. I just think it's absolutely stunning, and as I've mentioned, I love working with this yarn, and I got 2 skeins with it, and I plan to crochet myself a shawl with it at some point. So that's Fibre Space Vivacious DK in the Verdigris colourway. So that's my shiny new thing for this week. And now it's time for the history bit. As it's been Christmas this week, I thought it would be fun to show you pictures of some places, some houses that have been decorated in, I don't know what the word would be, houses that have been decorated in period. So it would be a Tudor house with Tudor decorations, for example. So this was at the Wealden Downland Living Museum, which I have mentioned many times before on this podcast. I go there quite often, and it is one of my favourite places to visit. It was a traditional Christmas, so Christmas at the Wealden Downland, and so there was a Tudor house that I went into. There's one from 1647. That specific year is interesting for a reason I will come up to shortly. And then a Georgian toll house. So I've taken pictures of all of these, and I will put them up whilst I'm talking so you can see. So I'll start sort of do this in chronological order. So the Tudor Christmas was in Bayleaf Cottage, and it was decorated with holly and ivy. And I read that holly was considered to be masculine and ivy feminine. So if a house had more ivy in the decorations, then the woman was considered to be a woman who is in charge. And take that as you will. And these are beautiful decorations, lovely green natural decorations. And in Tudor times, Advent was observed in the same way as Lent. So it was a time for abstinence and saving up until the 12 days of Christmas, starting on Christmas Day, for celebration and overeating. So I've got a picture of the table here that's spread for Tudor Christmas, and then I'm also going to put in, which is my personal favourite, a picture of the great wheel that's in the Bayleaf Cottage at the museum, which has been decorated with ivy because they would decorate tools to show that during the 12 days of Christmas this wasn't a time for work, and so they put them out of use by decorating them. So there's also I believe a plough or something decorated with holly, which is masculine, and the ivy chosen for the spinning wheel because it represents the feminine. So that's the Tudor house, the Tudor period. And then the next house is Poplar Cottage, which is a 17th century cottage, and there were no decorations in this one because in 1647 the celebration of Christmas was banned by the Puritan government of England. So at this time Oliver Cromwell was the Lord Protector, and the Puritans considered that the celebration of Christmas, particularly the giving of gifts and the general merrymaking, was not appropriate and would encourage bad behaviour in children in the future. And it was just people were just generally badly behaved, so Christmas was banned in 1647. It wasn't popularly accepted, and so there are pamphlets that were issued where there was like a Christmas wanted, an arraignment notice for Christmas, saying that Christmas and its traditions were wanted for breaking the law. But this didn't last for very long, and so Christmas was celebrated again not that long after 1647. So that's why that's a very plain house there. And then the final one is the Georgian Toll House. I've taken lots of pictures of the inside of this one, with a Christmas tea laid out. Tea was very popular, sort of many people were drinking it at this time, but it had become even more popular because the tax had been reduced, so it had become much more affordable, which is why you can see it in a toll house, which this example is a 2-roomed house with a bedroom in the back and then a kitchen and sitting room in the front. So even people who earned very little were able to afford tea, certainly at least for special occasions. And there's also bread and cake there, and a beautifully but sparsely laid table and some decoration. And I've also shown pictures of the bedroom too, just for information. So that's how they celebrate Christmas at the Weald and Downer Museum, by putting decorations in the house, period decorations in the houses. And there are activities and things that you can do as well. Definitely worth a visit, even when there's nothing special on, because the buildings are amazing. I have a particular weakness for timber frame buildings, so my heart leaps with joy at being there. So that's one of the #joyful thing for this week. And now on to my actual #joyful thing. I'm going to have to stop this and actually go and fetch it, because of course I've left it at the other side of the room. #joyful thing, I think it's very appropriate, is Happiness Scent by, it's Home Fragrance by DIOY. DIY in Barcelona. So it's a Spanish thing, and it really is the scent of happiness. It says on here, home fragrance, cookies, fruit, colours, ready, music, morning, childhood, Sunday, thankful, sweet, energy, good, power, together, cereals, laugh. And it is all of those things. It is the most amazing scent. And if you don't have allergies, I would recommend you try and find some of this, because it really is the happiness scent. It was a gift and it made me laugh and smile, and definitely spreads happiness to everyone who smells it. So that's just a quick joyful thing for this week, which is the happiness scent. So that's the joyful thing for this week, and I mentioned at the beginning there'd be a little bit of shop news. The next update is going to be on Tuesday the 3rd of January. It's going to be a bright and happy update to celebrate the new year. There's going to be fabrics with balloons on, there's bright coloured sailing boats, socks, all the sorts of things to make you smile at this time of year. And there'll be a mixture of drawstring bags and wedge bags. And so that's the update, which will be on Tuesday the 3rd of January 2017. That's all for this week. I hope you've had a good week, and I wish you all a very happy and prosperous new year. And I look forward to speaking to you next week, where I'll be talking a little bit about my plans, my crafting plans for the year to come. So have a great week everyone. Speak to you soon. Bye.